for the malacha, I think. Okay. Okay. So I have a book today to show you. This is a children's book, but it's actually very helpful because it has pictures of things you might not get to see so much. So this is the 39 about Melachot of Shabbat. This is a classic, modern classic, and it has pages for some introductory sections about some of these principles we talked about like if you do things that are not enduring, it doesn't count as a full biblical prohibition. Do something in an unusual way for some other purpose, same act for different purpose, etc. We talked about that, and then it goes through each of the melachot, and it shows you a sort of anachronistic picture of somebody doing this melacha in biblical times. So this is choresh. We talked about plowing, and then these are all the modern situations where plowing, where this melacha would pertain. And the ones with little Torahs next to them are Torah prohibitions. The one with little scribal pictures next to it are rabbinic prohibitions. And the ones that have little checks next to them, I think, are permitted altogether. Okay? So we've actually covered already quite a few of these. So we talked about choresh plowing, with preparing the earth for planting. So plowing also means leveling the ground with a rake, or removing stones from a garden, digging a hole, turning over the soil, right? Even fertilizing is plowing because it's making the soil better for growing. If you fertilize after someone's already growing, then it comes under planting a seed because you're encouraging growth. If you're improving the soil, that's plowing. If you're encouraging growth, that's the melacha of zoreah, planting, causing them to grow, placing flowering buds into water, throwing pits onto soft soil. If you're eating having a picnic, right? If you're having a picnic and water falls onto the ground, watering plants. This is all zoreah. Third, kotzer, harvesting. We talked about harvesting as well. Including in harvesting would be mowing the lawn, even if you don't need the grass per se. That's rabbinic. So mowing the lawn if you need mowing the lawn would be rabbinic. Because why is rabbinic? Because kotzer. I'll do the first one, like these first melachot, since we talked about them already. I'm going to do relatively quickly, but okay, so we'll go through all of them. Kotzer, plucking, cutting, is when you need the thing itself. So if you mow the lawn, you don't mow the lawn because you want little bits of grass, right? That's not the purpose. So you're doing the action of cutting, but for a different purpose than the original, like, archetypical melacha, not to get the thing that you're harvesting, but to cut the grass. Therefore, it's only rabbinic prohibition. Mowing the lawn is rabbinic prohibition. Okay. Climbing a tree is kotzer because you may, rabbinically, because you may break off a branch. Okay. So leaning on a tree, climbing a tree. A hammock is permitted because the hammock is hanging. We talked about this also. The hammock is connected to hooks. So it's hammock to hook to tree. One stage removed, two stage removes. You can sit in a hammock in that way. But if the hammock is tied to the tree directly, that's a rabbinic prohibition. You don't lean on trees, climb trees, lest a branch break off or you break off a branch. Okay. Third, ma'amer. We skipped that one. Ma'amer is gathering all these things into a pile. Like in the fields, they would harvest their grain. They would stack it all up in big heaps. That's third in this. We skipped it when we talked about it before. So, okay, if you have scattered fruit in an orchard piling up, that's a violation of this. I don't know, putting together a bouquet of flowers. You're sort of gathering things together. Stringing figs. I don't know if you've ever done that. Where you're stringing any fruit to dry. It's like gathering them together after they've been harvested. Okay. Fourth, threshing. We talked about threshing, right? Threshing also means milking a cow, squeezing grapes, right? You're taking the thing that you want out of the context in which it grew. Removing peas from an inedible pod. Okay. But you are allowed to squeeze juice into a food that will absorb it because when it's in the fruit, with the lemon wedge, it's a solid. You squeeze it, it becomes a liquid. Then it gets absorbed into your fish, it becomes a solid again. So you haven't actually done anything. Okay, so that's permissible. You can squeeze a lemon into fish. Okay, that's dash. Next is zoreh, winnowing. So winnowing would be blowing, obviously using the wind to separate the chaff from the wanted from unwanted objects. So you go to the little skins in your peanuts. That would be winnowing. Okay. Can't do that. Borer was selecting. We spent a fair amount of time talking about selecting, removing the fish, or the bones from fish, right? Picking out the pits from an apple, from melon, etc. Okay. Using a slides. Okay. Token, grinding. So again, originally grinding wheat in a mill. Today that would be grating potatoes, scraping off dried mud from your pants is a rabbinic extension of grinding. What else? You can.
Pepper.
Of course, absolutely, absolutely. Making sawdust. Okay. Rabbinically, we don't do medicine on Shabbat because that is, they used to grind medicine, so there's a rabbinic decree against medicine on Shabbat. There are a lot of exceptions to that if you're seriously ill or even a little bit seriously ill, but as a basic rule, that's the case. You're allowed to crumble up matzah because the matzah is made of flour which was already ground. So you can regrinding something that was already ground is permissible. So you can take matzah and crumble it up. And also allowed to cut, vegetables into small pieces for immediate use, or into big pieces for not immediate use. So big slices of pepper, or if you're making like Israeli salad, you can do that if you're going to eat it right away. Moroccan, we talked about sifting. When did you do sifting? Other than sifting, I don't know. I guess if your kid was playing with sandbox or something. Okay, sifting. Okay, next, lash, kneading. We talked about kneading, making dough, or making cement, or making, mixing at the beach or something like that. Okay, that would be. And then we talked about ofa, baking, which is, we had a lot of time about baking, cooking, all that. We spent like 2 classes on that. Next, okay, so that's those first 11 or so melachot, that's, we end up with bread. So that's like food. Next is about clothing. So gozes is shearing. So shearing a sheep originally. Also included would be cutting fingernails, or pulling out hair from you, or from whatever. Plucking feathers by hand from a chicken. Okay. That's all gozes. Next is melaben. After you would shear the sheep, you would take the wool and you would clean it, like whiten it. So washing, laundering is a melacha. So you can't scrub clothing. You can't wring out wet clothes. You can't soak clothing in water. If wine falls on your tablecloth, you can't pour seltzer on it, right? That's out of the laving of laundering. You can, brush off things that just come out, come off normally, like some dust or something on your clothing. If there's wet mud on your shirt, you can take a knife to scrape it off. You can't wash it. You can just sort of push it aside. You can with a knife, you can't wash the clothing. And you can, dust things lightly if it's barely visible. You can't hang up wet clothing to dry because it looks as though you washed it on Shabbat. That's a rabbinic prohibition because it looked as though you washed it on Shabbat. Okay, that's next is menafet, which is combing the wool. So that's not really what would be. That doesn't really have so much practical application today, other than if you're doing something with wool. If you're raking wool or flax or something, or cotton, to kind of get it ready for, okay. The next step is soveya, is dyeing, coloring the wool. So you can't color wool, you can't, soak materials, fabric in dye, nor can you paint anything. You can't spray paint, can't paint a boat, can't paint a house, can't paint a painting. Using oil-based makeup is probably soveya. And most types of makeup. So makeup should be applied before Shabbat rather than on Shabbat. You can get special makeups that are meant to be applied on Friday and will stay more or less okay for 24 hours. I'm not the one to speak to. But I can refer you to somebody who can tell you about makeup. If you dilute wine in seltzer to make like or grape juice in seltzer to make like a grape soda. So don't pour the wine into the seltzer, I was told. Actually, I haven't understood this since I don't know if it's just a, whatever. Don't pour the grape juice into the seltzer because then you're coloring the clear liquid. Rather pour the seltzer into the grape juice because that's okay, the next ones are all connected to weaving. So spinning, which I don't know, when would you ever spin, if like, I don't know, tsitsi thread starts getting fray, you might wanna, okay, or if you're spinning, right? No spinning, no mesa, you can't thread a loom, you can't thread the harness, right? Looms have harnesses, right? You can't thread the loom, can't thread the harness, these are, nor can you actually do the weaving, hova, okay? So all these things are prohibited and I don't know, no weaving, okay, not sure about. That's an interesting question actually about knitting. Because knitting was invented long after the Talmud. The knitting, is your history of knitting? Do you know?
I knit, actually.
Okay,
so
I was, actually wanting to on Friday.
Okay.
I didn't, but
So it's really interesting.
I was wondering about
So knitting has really interesting history. It was invented in the Middle Ages, I think. It's not an ancient craft. And so it's not weaving, it's just different than weaving.
It's looping.
Yeah.
It's all looping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nor is it, you'll see tying a knot is another malacha.
But it's not a knot because
No
it
knot.
unravels.
Unless you're casting it
Right. So it's really interesting it's unclear what malacha knitting is. It seems obviously wrong that you could.
Right, because you're making
on.
fabric.
Yeah, it's still.
Yes.
But
It's unclear it's really unclear what the malacha is. Somebody was asking me this, and I did a little bit of research, and I did a fair amount of research actually, and I forget everything that I learned, but I know that it's a guy, his wife was a medievalist, like a medieval historian, and she was into this, and it was really fascinating. I don't remember what, like there's literature on this, like it's been dealt with, but you can't knit, but it's unclear why, because it's not tying a knot, nor is it weaving. On the other hand, you can make I would feel you can't make a sweater.
It's
like,
kind of like weave. I don't know.
it's really different.
there's no warp and there's no woof.
It's looping, but
because-
it's weaving with loops.
It's not
But
really
it's
weaving,
not, it's
it's
knit.
loops.
It's not woven. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know all that fabrics,
Yeah, I
right?
do, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you also can't put sand extra step. You can't cut or remove the cloth from the loom of roll. You can't. Right after you done, you just cut. Right, you can't do that. Okay, so no. Okay, next, kosher. You can't kosher matir. You can't tie a permanent knot or untie a permanent knot. So this seems to be a professional knot. So what is a professional knot versus a, I don't know. It seems. The same definition of knotting is any knot that's prohibited to tie is prohibited to untie. Any knot that's permissible to tie in Shabbat is permissible to untie. Basically, it's like a fancy professional knot is a problem. A bow is okay. Why is a bow okay? Because it's not professional, and you can undo it with one pull. So that seems to be okay. Even a double bow is okay because it seems to be not endurance. It will come out eventually. Even a double bow will come out, and your sneakers will come out eventually. And you can even double, you can undo with one pull if you, right? I think. So that seems to be, certainly a single bow is fine, double bow is probably fine as well. But yeah, no, you can't tie a permanent single knot at the end of a rope. You can certainly make a single knot, you can make a bow. Neckties are interesting, you could probably tie necktie. They also can be undone with one pull. And it's not really, those will stay a long time, but you don't because you intend to undo it, right? It seems there are certain types of necktie. I only know how to tie my tie one. I don't know if you were why you know, but there's only one way I know to tie my tie. Apparently there are like dozens of ways to tie ties, and some of them are actually a Shabbat, like a double Windsor or whatever.
Yeah.
There's certain way. Yeah, so some of them I think are problematic on Shabbat. The one that I do,
4 and 1 is what you
which
do.
I learned when I was 6, is or 10, whatever, is fine. So. But some people I think are strict about it. I guess maybe they don't wear ties, or they will just open and close it and not yet. knew somebody in college who got through all of college with one knot in his tie that he basically opened and closed.
That's amazing.
That's hilarious.
That's amazing.
Toe fair is sewing, right? But it is actually, but it's defined as connecting two things, attaching two things together. So sewing a hem you can't do, pulling thread to fasten buttons, gluing two pieces of paper together. Taping two pieces of paper together, 'cause that's connecting two things together. Pulling a thread to tighten loose stitches. These are all toe fair, this prohibition of sewing. And Korea, tearing, ripping apart, something for a useful purpose. So if you, a book, some old books that come with the pages attached, I'm talking about like
Yeah, and you would cut the edges off.
yeah, so that you can't do. That's tearing for a productive. Tearing just destructively, that's not a malacha, that wouldn't be because it's destructive, and only productive things are malacha. If you tear constructively, like you're tearing a piece of paper out of a notebook to give to somebody to write on, that's a useful purpose to tear. Or if you're tearing designs out of a paper or cloth. Let's say you have a wallpaper with lots of roses, and you're tearing out the roses to, you're tearing something in a constructive way to get something, like tearing it out of something else because you want that thing. That's constructive tearing.
Is there a way, like when on Shabbat, say you're reading something and obviously we can't take notes on what we're reading or something like that, what is a means by which you can mark something or to go back to that, not lose your place?
Right, so post-it notes are probably okay because they're not permanent.
Okay, so even though you're connecting two things, you can remove the connection.
I mean, the strict would be,
easy.
right, the rationale to be strict would be it is sticking to it. The leniency would be, it's actually not that.
Can you
adhesive.
dog ear a page, because it's not technically connecting, but it's
That'd be
bending
okay.
the
Dogging,
paper?
I think that's fine. I can't think of a reason why that wouldn't be okay.
Okay, because you can put it back, it just creates the crease, you're not, okay.
That seems fine. Using a bookmark, that's
Yeah.
fine. A lot of people do use post-it notes with arrows and even different colors, and that seems to be okay. Seems to be okay because it's not permanent. Because the post-it notes really will fall.
Yeah.
It's not it's not meant to. Unlike tape, like Scotch tape, it's supposed I Scotch tape this page. It's supposed to the intention of the tape, and really it's going to stay there forever. And the glue, the adhesive is such that it really will stay.
The intention of the post-it note is so that you can remove it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's designed that way, and you can.
Yeah.
Right. And it will fall off, right? If you see no post-it notes, they will. After a week or so, they'll fall off. I'd say you probably, there are reasons maybe not to be doing that kind of studying on Shabbat anyway.
Sure.
But.
I have a tendency, I guess, to want to further think about
great,
something
that's
or
awesome. That's great.
look into it.
Post-it notes.
Even if it's not something that I'm reading for this,
Great,
it's just a
great,
pleasure.
great.
So yeah.
Great. I just got a question. I can refer you. Does beer have to be kosher?
Does it, right?
Anyone?
Cider does.
I feel like it does, but I don't know why.
Okay, so beer does not have to be kosher, meaning it has to be kosher. Everything has to be kosher if you're going to eat it. Beer does not have to be certified kosher because all beer is basically the same ingredients. So not if it's just beer, without, fruit flavors. Okay? I'm not gonna have, not eating beer, and drinking beer. Anyway, okay, let's go. Next is, a couple of questions. Do you have a favorite kind of beer? Time please now. But in case the person's shopping, I would say several. I don't really care.
I don't care.
Don't think I'll drink much. Okay. Next is tzad. Tzad is trapping an animal So, trapping out, this is restricting the movement of an undomesticated living creature for its use. Okay, a domestic creature for its own use, right? So trapping a deer so you can eat it. Okay, trapping a dove so you can eat it. So what are the? So there are a couple of different. So catching fish in the net, that's tzad. That's a biblical prohibition. Catching the animal with the assistance of a hunting dog. Okay, that's interesting. Your dog catching the animal. That okay. Catching sleeping animals. That's also a prior prohibition. Okay, that's okay. But chasing birds into an enclosed space, even if they cannot be grasped with one, it's not that big of it's a big enclosed space, so they're still not like caught. That's a rabbinic prohibition. Covering a jar of insect inside. That's also okay. Setting traps, setting mouse traps, right? That's a rabbinic prohibition because you don't need the mice. You're not, right? You want them dead, you don't need the mice. Okay, so you can't set mouse traps on Shabbat. But you can catch a dangerous animal, right? Because you don't want the animal. You just want it. It talks about this? No? Again, the malacha is defined as you trap the thing because you want to use it. If you have a spider, a scary spider, you don't want, the purpose of trapping it is not because you want to mount it on your wall, right? You're catching it because you want to remove it, right? So you don't want it to bite you. So that means it's not a biblical prohibition, it's removed to a rabbinic prohibition because you're doing the same action, trapping, but with a different intention. The intention is not, as in the biblical archetype paradigm of capturing the thing you want to use. Here you're capturing the thing to get rid of it, so it doesn't bite you. And so that makes it, lowers it to the rabbinic threshold, and the rabbis are lenient in a case of danger. So if it might bite you or scare you or hurt you, you can capture it on Shabbat, since you don't want the thing itself.
So mice fall into that category. Could you leave mice fall into that category? Could you leave your
if you leave the traps before Shabbat, you're not doing anything on Shabbat. But you could, so.
But if it catches something on Shabbat, like that's even though you didn't.
Well, that would be if you even capture something that a fish you want to eat on Shabbat.
Okay.
I think because
you're not
because you set the trap before Shabbat. Exactly.
Okay.
That's like your machines doing
exactly.
the work is okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. I believe that's true. I don't think fish traps are. As I'm talking, I'm remembering a Gemara about fish traps, but I think pretty sure it's fine.
Like the crab traps, so you can like walk out and leave that are like the cages that hang from the buoy or whatever. You can just go fetch them.
Exactly. We don't eat crabs.
I know, but that's what I was thinking. I know that you like that. It's not kosher, but that's what I was thinking of, like as a style of trap that you would walk out.
Yes. Sorry.
I don't know what other kind of fish. I don't eat fish at all, so I don't know what other kind of fish you would catch that way. So that's all I can
it's a
think
good
of.
question. I think there are actually others.
Right, there are, but that was just top of mind.
So the fruit flies flying in front of your face.
No. If it's frightening or scary, then you can trap them. But or even kill them if they're dangerous or frightening. You can't. Otherwise, you can't kill them. So maybe mosquitoes doesn't bite you. You could kill a mosquito.
I had a very long conversation about this over Shabbat lunch last week.
Yeah.
Because there was a fly in the room, and there became a very heated discussion of what you could and could not do about flies.
So what was the conclusion? What was the?
That we had to leave it be until the end of Shabbat. We were like, what happens if it flies into the bathroom? Can you close the bathroom door? And we were like, no, because it's still like an enclosed space.
So you can close the bathroom door, I think, because it's not. I think that would be the.
That's the large enclosed space that
that's
it
the large
still can't get out.
Prohibition. Still can't get out. You still haven't caught it because you still can grab it in one grasp, but now it's more enclosed, so you're closing the door again.
Yeah. So we were like, you could theoretically leave open a window so it could get out by itself, but then you risk more flies coming in. So you probably don't want to do it anyways. So we left the fly.
All God's creatures have, a place at the shops. Next, shochet. After you capture this animal, you shet it, you kill it, okay? So killing any living thing is prohibition on Shabbat. Again, the biblical paradigm is you kill the thing because you want to eat it, or use its body, use its skin for something. So that would be the biblical paradigm, but other things would be, rabbinically prohibited would be spraying insects, you don't want the insects, you just want them dead. or putting out poison to kill bats, or causing an injury by blood clots or bleeding would also be a rabbitic prohibition on Shabbat. Why would this come up? Well, if it's one issue that's relevant when it comes to flossing. I mean, cutting the floss to a length would be a problem because of the cutting because when you cut it, you make it into a usable tearing. Right? We said right. Likewise tearing toilet paper, which you mentioned also. Like you can say you don't really care how long. No, you're cutting it to a usable size, so tearing toilet paper also would be a problem. Sorry, we skipped that when we talked about that. So typically, Shabbat homes, people instead of using toilet paper, use tissues, or you can even get pre-cut toilet paper, which maybe is a little bit better for your, sewage system than using tissues. Or you can pre-cut your own toilet paper. You don't have to buy pre-cut toilet paper. You can pre-cut your own toilet paper. Which, if you take a knife and just take a roll of toilet paper, you take a knife, you cut it in half, then you have pre-cut toilet paper, a big stack of it. Okay. Right, you don't have to. Right, nor do you have to buy. Like they sell, especially in Israel, you can buy like pre-cut toilet paper. In our home, we just always have a tissue box in the bathroom, which is easier. But it's a little harder on the plumbing, so it's not ideal for that reason, even though it's like easy. So flossing. What if you have pre-cut floss? So if there's a risk it's going to cause your gums to bleed, that would be this problem of it's derivation of shkitza causing bleeding. Okay. Other cases, other types of maybe surgical procedures that are, depending on how medically indicated they are, necessary they are, that would be an issue as well of Shabbat. You do surgery on Shabbat if it's absolutely necessary. Shouldn't do surgery really ever if it's necessary. Okay, next, after you shecht the animal, you remove the skin. So separating the skin from the flesh of a dead animal is mafshit. That's prohibited. So too, separating the layers of a hide from one from another for various purposes, it is permissible to remove skin from a chicken before you eat it. That's not a problem with mafshit. Next, ma'abed, taking the leather and you hammer it to, or you chemically, you like part of the tanning process, you processing raw materials physically or chemically to make them easier to use. That is ma'abed. That is processing in this way. So picking vegetables, brushing boots or shoes with special cream, shoe polish. Okay, so these are all so ma'abed or salted as well. Same malacha. Next, memachek is smoothing the leather, rubbing an object to reduce roughness or form a shape. To form a shape. That's also one of these are all stages in processing leather to make parchment. You shecht the animal, you catch the animal, you shecht the animal, you skin the animal, you process the leather, then you smooth it out. And smoothing out though also could also be sandpapering or using maybe a bar of soap, you're kind of rubbing, which is they say is a durabana, it's a rabbinic prohibition. Because it's not your intention, because you don't care about the soap, right? But you are changing the shape of the soap, so that's a bar of soap. We use liquid soap on Shabbat, not bar soaps. If that's usual or shocking or different, right? You seem nonplussed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and Shabbat we use liquid soap. Okay.
Bar soap's not good for yours.
What?
Bar soap's not good for your plumbing system.
Is that true?
Yeah, it builds up.
Liquid soap on Shabbat. That's the more common one. Maybe certain types of ointments, maybe be machek, smoothing something out, taking the solid, spreading it out. But you're allowed to spread jam on things. And Misharte is making then you make lines in the in this make lines in the parchment, so you could write on it, and Torah scrolls have lines. They have what do you call that line? They have what do you call it? Scoring lines, right? So that's a malacha. People don't really do that. I don't know when you do that. Otherwise, next in chatek, cutting something to the right shape. So once you have the lines, then you might cut it into squares for making parchment. That is also cutting something to the shape you want. That also would be really more the toilet paper one would be because you're cutting the shape you want. Again, do you really want that shape? Do you care that, is it like, do you care that it's one, square or two square, so the fact that you have, some say the fact that toilet paper comes in, or paper towels come perforated, if you cut on the perforation, it's like, I want one square of paper towel, one square of toilet paper. Others say you don't really care about the size. The general custom is to be strict, not to tear toilet paper, neither to tear paper towels. So toilet paper, I told you what we do. Paper towels, we can use non-paper towels, like towels, or you can just cut a whole bunch of them in advance. Aluminum foil, we cut a whole bunch of aluminum foil. You can buy pre-cut aluminum foil, like sheets, but which in various times we've used, but generally we just, before Shabbat, we'll just take 10, just a whole bunch of cuts of aluminum foil and fold into squares, put them in the tray. Next is writing. Writing is writing. Okay. Definition is creating meaningful images. Okay, so even drawing a picture would be writing. Etching would be writing. What about writing, like on the window, in like a frosty window, or in the steam on your bathroom mirror?
It's not really permanent.
It's temporary.
Yeah, so that's not rabbinic prohibition. Okay, you're writing, but in the sand, it's going to come and just be washed away. That's also rabbinic. Embroidering letters is also writing. Interesting question. What about using a computer? If you save something to a hard drive, is that writing? Maybe not. If you type on a screen, something appears on the screen, is that writing?
You're making the images that mean something.
But they're temporary, right? It's just all it is it's just you're not actually.
If you're not saving it?
If you save it, maybe it's written on a hard drive. If it's a hard drive, if there's no hard drive, it's just.
It auto saves.
Yeah, no. If you just type something appears on the screen, it's unclear that you've written it anywhere. It's just you just have. I don't know how screens work, but they're like liquid crystals showing something, right? It's all temporary anyway. I don't know. There's a question, people have written about it. It's obviously we don't do it, but it's not so simple. Whether it's recording something, audio recordings, or writing, on a tape. I feel like an old, maybe the old-fashioned ones that were vinyl, printing something in vinyl. Maybe that's like more physical. It's like tangible as opposed to just digital. And rabbinically, we don't conduct business on Shabbat lest you write something down. And as a general, also certain things you don't read on Shabbat lest you write down figures and stuff like that, Next is erasing. So erasing is really, again, to clear away writing from a piece of paper so that you can write something again. That's the biblical paradigm of erasing. It's not just erasing destructively, it's erasing so that you now have space available to write something else. Because it's only productive things that are melacha. So that doesn't really happen so much. I guess you erase something from a blackboard, so you can write it again. You write something and you erase it so you can have space to write again. So that'd be erasing. But some people are strict about cutting, like cutting cake that have words on it. You cut the cake, and that doesn't have words anymore because you take a piece away, and then it doesn't say happy birthday. Do you know that website? It's like Cake Fail or something, or Cake Disaster.
Yes.
What's it called?
I don't know.
You know what
I know exactly.
It's hilarious, isn't it?
It's hysterical.
It's all pictures of cakes.
Where you ordered it over the phone and they
I know what you're
totally messed it up.
So
My
sometimes
favorite ones are the ones where it's like they order 2 cakes and and happy birthday on both, and it says happy birthday on both. Happy birthday on both.
Literal.
And I'm like, how did you not hear?
in big
how are you writing this and you don't understand?
In big letters, happy birthday, John.
Yes.
Just in big letters. My favorite one of all of those, though, it's the addition of a comma that makes it kind of passive aggressive. So instead of saying way to go, John, it says way to go, John. Which is such a funny.
Yeah, those are great.
You screwed up again.
Okay. Anyway, so there are some. I think there are many grounds for leniency, but some are strict about. Just so you should know that if you encounter people strict about cutting cakes. I'm sure there's a Rabbi. There's an important authority who's strict about cutting cakes with writing on it. Some are even strict. Books that have writing on the binding. Like this, so that when you open the book, then you're erasing the words. So it's clearly, and most are rabbinic. You're not.
Yeah, because you're not really. They still exist.
Right.
Because as soon as you close the book, they're there.
Good. Unlike the cake.
You're not removing them.
Like
in the cake, I see it
you
more
eat the
than in
letter,
the
that's
book
good.
because you're actually removing them and it's going to go away. But the book, they still exist.
Right. You just can't see them.
You just can't see
temporarily
them.
invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's like you're hiding letters more than.
Some are strict when opening contained packages, not to tear letters. Also, when opening up containers, I think the risk though of being, because clearly it's destructive. It's clearly not. It's destructive. It's for the sake of getting for the food inside. It's not for the purpose of rewriting, and if you avoid that, sometimes the way you avoid it is being very, very careful when you're cutting open the yogurt, or whatever it is you're opening in such a way that you're being so careful that you run into other problems of.
Because you're cutting a specific shape.
Or you're making an opening, which is another
Yeah.
prohibition. You can't make an opening because instead of just tearing open the thing, you're making an opening, which
Yeah.
is worse. So I tend to be lenient about the erasing when opening packaging because. If you're strict about erasing, you end up being lenient about.
Because again, with the packaging, the letters, they're torn in half, but they're still there.
Still there.
It would be one thing like, what if you tear off the top of the thing? You can tear it off completely and throw it away, or you can just like rip it.
I mean, in theory, according to you could even take. You could.
The letters are still there.
Even if you erase it though, the letters are still there, right? They're just smudge on the eraser. And if you had a really clever computer, you could probably reconstruct the original words based on the location of the ink smudges on the eraser, right?
I don't know if you can do that. Can you?
It can't be done at the moment. In theory, you could, right? If you believe in a totally causal universe, right? If you know the position of every particle, right? You could then recreate the past and you could then predict the future, right? So if you can see, you could erase that, right? You could take a newspaper, you could burn it, and you could gather the smoke particles and see how, and if you knew the weather patterns, you could gather the smoke particles and recreate what the newspaper said. So how's it different from opening a book which has printing on the binding? It's different, but maybe not as different as you thought. Okay, next. So that's all. Okay, so this is all everything we just said so far. From trapping the animal to erasing, it's all about writing. Right? You trap the animal, you shecht it, you clear the skin, you prepare it in all these ways, and then you write on it and you erase it, so you can write some more. That's writing. Okay, that's what's next. Next comes boneh, building something, and then comes soter, demolishing something. So constructing or improving a structure, or destroying a structure to enable new construction. Because again, the destructive melachot are only if done. Why do you destroy something to enable further construction? Because you want the spot, right, for something else. People do this in towns. They buy these houses, they tear them down, they replace them with bigger houses. Sometimes the fire department will do a practice burn. They'll burn your house down if they can practice putting it out. If they really do this. So, what's included? Repairing the wall of the house, installing a door, securing a hook with a nail, building a movable structure like a wagon, fastening a shovel to its handle. Okay, what about, can you open and close the door? Are you making a wall? If I close
Can
the
we talk about this? Because you're not actually making a wall.
I'm not actually making a wall, I'm operating a door.
And that's how it's meant to operate.
Correct.
You're not actually making
Good.
and unmaking.
Similarly,
The
I'm
door
not
itself is made.
just made a chair.
Yeah.
I'm operating a folding chair.
Yeah.
Okay, what an umbrella?
But that's a structure.
Why is an umbrella a structure?
Because it's guarding you from rain.
So when umbrellas were invented, the poskim divided on the permissibility of, assuming there's an eruv where we're allowed to carry, we haven't gotten to carrying yet, but assuming it's a situation we're allowed to carry, the poskim divided on opening and closing umbrellas, whether it was building or not. Some were lenient, some were strict. The strict position has carried the day. And
Right, because it's almost like a small canopy, and you would never say that a canopy is not a structure that you've built.
so when these were invented, I would refer you, and at some point we have more time, we can sit down and read the very lengthy Tshuvot responsa literature that exists surrounding umbrellas. going back to the 19th century, and it's not so simple, but there's a strict position, there's a lenient position. The strict position was either more compelling or prevailed for whatever reason, and it's sort of not, it's not done. I would say it's not done, because actually there are a lot of people in this community who use umbrellas on Shabbat, but I think I do not recommend using umbrella. Again, the argument is that there are like very, very, very important people permitted, so it's sort of hard to say like, I don't want to use an umbrella on Shabbat, but I'd say it's not conducive to, like, I don't know, like it's sort of the overwhelming position now is we don't use umbrellas on Shabbat, so you should use umbrella. What if you open it before Shabbat? You just carry
But then people might think that, because it's not something you would normally leave open.
Yeah, exactly. Even people who are strict about umbrellas are looking into that baby carriage shades. Why that's different than umbrella, I don't really know, but that seems to be the position. It's the same thing, right? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I would just be lenient because the baby doesn't have many other options.
Well, you could be sure to leave open all of Shabbat, unless you fold it to get into the corner. We don't swim on Shabbat because we're concerned you'll make a raft. So there's a rabbinic decree against swimming in a river on Shabbat, lest you make a raft.
With your body?
No, you make a raft with like some branches and stuff.
Oh.
So like a flotation device. Removing tiles from a roof to replace them, that's soter, that's destroying. But just breaking up. There's a question in the halakha literature whether or not building and breaking is only for like things connected to the ground, or whether it's also applies for like objects like a box. If you open a box, so that's the whole discussion in the literature. So in general, we say to get to food, you can open containers. You're not destroying something, but you don't want to open it in such a way that you leave a nice open hole. Then you've constructed a tool. That would be a problem. So, for example, well, let's go to the opening bottles on Shabbat. So, we can open a cork, that's fine. But in terms of twisty tops, so there are two types of twisty tops. There are the plastic kind and there are the metal kind. So it could be the plastic kind, it seems the way they're made. Plastic times seems that they're made like as plastic bottle tops, and you're high pressure, you're kind of stuck onto the bottles. So so when you open it for the first time, and the rings, you're not making anything new. It was a bottle top before, it's a bottle top now, nothing's been made. The metal kind, like on Perrier, right? So it seems they take metal and they scrimp it around the bottle top. And so it wasn't a bottle top before, and maybe it doesn't become a bottle top until once you break that seal, now you've created a tool that can be used for opening closing.
It wasn't the plastic molded to begin with, it wasn't a bottle top forever.
Well, even before it was on the bottle, it was a bottle top. And so it was a bottle top then, it's a bottle top now. Whereas the metal was not a bottle top before. Some people are strict to that, but if you're strict, the thing to do is you open it and you throw it out. Because then
it's not a tool.
You're showing you don't care about it. So you maybe save some from before Shabbat, something different last week, and you use those. You just open and throw it out, and then you're showing that you don't care. Or you open it before Shabbat. Some people are strict before Shabbat; they just open all the soda bottles. So that's a totally reasonable thing to do. You may encounter that in your life, but there are grounds for leniency as well. And the nice good in between would be you can open it and just discard the top. Okay, maybe we'll probably have a few. Oh gosh, we're so close to ending, but the truth is, only a few more melachot, but they're important ones, so I don't want to rush them. And folks are going to be arriving soon from Erev, so I'm going to pause here. Okay, and we'll schedule our next meeting. December 1st is not going to. Could you December, you know what, maybe December 1st? I'm not gonna do the week after that, so let's do December 1st.
I'm flying. I'm flying to New York.
On December 1st?
Yeah.
You're not gonna do that. Is that okay for me without you? Is that alright?
Yeah.
Okay, so get it back. September, oops. Okay, great. Thank you so much. It's late, so